Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to the latest video, and that is Loid Forger, father of the Forger family. So this is the first of the casual lineup for Spy Family. So the second season's just started, and I think it's been almost 1 year since we saw the teaser for this figure. I'm not sure if it was before, but we definitely saw like a cutout teaser at Tamashii Nations 2022 back in November last year. And then there's been a few obviously teasers and samples shown since then, and you know, we've had obviously Loid pop up for pre-order, casual Yor with a red cardigan, as well as Bond and a Anya figure, which is really cool. So those ones should be coming out soon-ish. I can't remember the date actually, but when they are out I will be doing a video as well, because I actually quite like these figures. They're not awesome in the sense of if you think about some of the Dragon Ball figures or the Naruto ones, or Geto from Jutsu Kaisen or anything like that, but there's just something quite fun about them. They're quite nice for taking photos. I've had quite a lot of fun with the releases so far. I'm definitely, I think, a bit more interested in the casual versions opposed to the suit version, which was the first release for Loid last year. But yeah, the box design overall very straightforward and simple. Figure shot on the front with a nice line work around it, and then on the back images showcasing what it comes with. Unfortunately it does not come with the couch. That was used in a lot of promos. I guess it was mainly to highlight that they can sit down, which is actually really cool. It'd be nice to get a furniture set, just a real generic accessory set from Tamashii in the future with seats and chairs and yeah, all those type of cool items. But if you are in Japan, you can go to Seria or other 100-yen shops and pick up some other chairs, which is really cool. Or if you've got mad skills like Yamaji Hobby, make it yourself. Unfortunately I don't, so I do have to rely on picking up different looking chairs, but yeah, there are options out there. Obviously it will depend on which country you live in, but I think yeah, if you're keen on chairs, go ask Tamashii to release a general effect set. But yeah, enough of that. Let's just pop him out of a box and we can check out what he does come with. Okay, so in the center we have Loid himself, and you might be able to tell already it's pretty similar design to the original release, but we will check out the articulation a little bit later in the video. But for now he does have kind of a base neutral face on him, smiling, a bit more of a grin it looks like, the subtly drunk blushing one, and a bit more of a stern looking face. He does also come with slightly different bangs, or the front fringe, which is cool, as well as a hair with a mask attached. I think that's pretty cool actually. So you know, he has his hidden identity. When he's not really on a mission but he has to take care of business, he can chuck that mask on, put the gloves on, and assume a new identity, a bit like Superman with glasses. But yeah, speaking of gloves, we do have two pairs of hands with the gloves, closed fist, open, and then it seems like we've got the same hands for no gloves. So that is pretty cool, and this hand is designed for holding the newspaper. That's right, I did just say newspaper. He comes with a double-sided sheet of paper as a newspaper, which is really cool, as well as the folded arms. I think this is awesome. I love these little fun accessories. So yeah, I just did the Mione review. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. She comes with some cool accessories, mainly the tomato, which really kind of connects with the character. I think the newspaper is really good. It kind of suits him, especially if you have him in a sitting down pose, you know, relaxing at home, taking care of, you know, relaxing after a busy day of work, when you've got this munchkin running around causing trouble. So to be able to set him up in a nice relaxing pose with a newspaper, I think it's really cool. But yeah, what we'll do now, we'll pop him out of the packaging and we'll take a close look at the overall finish. So as Loid swings around, we'll be able to check out the lovely detailing on his jumper. All the folds in the clothing with the sleeves rolled up, and then especially on the back here we've got nice like little creases and folds in the clothing, which pick up the light beautifully to give it nice depth and detail. The pants as well, we have the pockets around the back, the seam down the side, and then the press on the front and back as well as some nice folds in the pants, especially towards the bottom above his socks and shoes. So all that detailing there is really nice. The colouring is pretty straightforward and basic, but it does have that nice casual look. I love how, you know, the brown mixes the hair with a lighter colouring on top with some darker colouring towards the tips of his hair, which is nice. So yeah, overall a very nice simple release in terms of aesthetic look. So yeah, let's jump into articulation now. So starting with the head and neck articulation, you can push it forward and it will look pretty natural, but if you keep pushing you can go even further. So looking from the front end is really cool, or just from the angle, or just from the side is nice, but if you start looking from the back it will look a little bit dislocated. So keep that in mind. You can get some really good range if you push further, but it will also look a little bit unnatural depending on the angle. Going back and up is really good, and then again for the left and right swivel. So overall, nice motion on the head there without any real limitations. Now coming to the shoulder area, this is a little bit more interesting. So we actually have a joint or a peg on the front side here, and we'll pivot on that. So it can come out a little bit, but that does open up quite a big gap. The arm will then connect into quite a big peg actually on the underside here, so you can swivel this around. So he has some nice motion, but it's a bit of a weird design. He can obviously fold his arms around quite far, which is nice, but depending on the angle we get a lot of, I don't know, gaps opening, a lot of straight edges, which isn't too pleasing on the eye. So you do have to be a little bit more careful with this figure when posing, to avoid those weird unnatural lines in the body. But overall everything does feel nice and smooth, and it is at least very usable, and you know, doesn't seem to get in the way too much while posing. Now coming into the elbow range, again we've got quite a big joint here, but the colouring matches wonderfully, which is good. But the articulation definitely a bit more limited compared to other figures. But again, he does have all the clothing with his sleeve rolled up, so it's a bit more bulkier compared to other figures. Now the wrist peg is pretty straightforward, bit of a small peg, so be careful, but he does get a nice range of motion in there as well. It helps that there isn't any clothing down at the wrist to hinder the articulation. So moving into the centre torso range here, going back is pretty good. It will move back, but we do get a gap in the front torso there, and it does look a little bit unnatural if you go that far, but a decent amount of range nonetheless. Now going forward though, definitely limited, no real front motion there. I think maybe if we had a bit more of a deeper curve in the upper chest, it could have helped with that, but definitely a lot more limited when it comes to the centre torso articulation. We don't have much, or if any, lower swivel as well, so extremely restricted there, though we do get a few millimeters of motion forward and back, so that part is at least nice. Coming into the hip region here, okay range. Going forward is a lot better, going back is okay. We have the upper thigh swivel, the knee joint is pretty basic, and then the foot is okay. Now for the most part this figure is exactly the same as the original release, just casual clothes, so the lower half will be the same. I'm pretty sure all the sculpting is exactly the same as well. The shoulder design is the same as well, and then the chest here is slightly different. I think it's a little bit better because we don't have the flaps from the suit jacket. So if you have the original release, expect the same range of articulation with this one. It's not a highly dynamic action figure, or it doesn't have extreme articulation, but you know, it's pretty nice. But overall it is at least pretty nice, and I think this one is more of a background character in terms of the, I guess, the use cases for him. But yeah, let's jump in and we can check out the faceplates that he does come with and have a close look at the masked head as well. So the base faceplate here is that subtle smile. This is a very neutral look and overall really nice. Again, with the line and printing on the eyes is crisp and clear as well. And overall, I think it does look really nice. So this is the second faceplate with the second style here. As you can see, the hair's coming up a little bit higher with those bangs, which is quite nice. Actually, swing around this way. The front one, the hair's coming straight down, whereas this one, a bit more swept up on a angle. So yeah, this one's definitely very nice. Again, the mouth open, nice, you know, kind of happy, fun looking face. Next up is more of a business face, you know, a little bit pouting, kind of, you know, biting his lower lip look there. And this one is, again, so far all the faces are standard and really nice. And you know, nothing too amazing compared to some other figures, but so far so good. So out of all the faces, this is probably my favourite. I'm definitely looking forward to getting the casual Yor to pair with him. I think she also comes with the slightly drunk face as well. But all, you know, the nice little blushing red colouring of the lines underneath the eyes are really nice, with the eyes being subtly closed like he's struggling to keep them open. The final face here is very similar to the first one, but instead of being a bit more smiling and happy-go-lucky, this one is a bit more serious. He knows business is about to go down, so he's going into battle mode and he's going to chuck on those goggles. So yeah, I think one thing that is really cool is how this thing has a decent amount of versatility. We get the kind of the gelled up hair for the bangs, real casual, just out of a shower, combed down look. And then we also have a mask on as well. And the fact that these can mix and match between any of the faceplates is actually really nice to see. I mean, you can even channel your inner Rock Lee with this figure, have him doing the kind of the drunken martial arts style poses as well with the mask and that kind of subtly drunk face, which is really cool. But yeah, for the other accessories, let's chuck on those arms, the folded arms, and we can also take a close look at the newspaper. So once you've popped off the arms, you'll get access to the pegs. I've just kind of angled them up a little bit now, and I'm going to align it with the peg insert on the arms, and hopefully we should be able to just slot it in once we have it aligned. First time might be a little bit tight. Yeah, folded arms, always a pain, right? So many figures have it, but not many kind of get it right out of the box where it's super easy. But anyway, this will give you a rough idea for what he looks like with the folded arms. I don't have it fully inserted on either side yet, but overall the look is pretty decent actually. The rumpled up jersey is really nice, the skin tones, and then the finger molds is really nice as well. So if you want to pose them in this look, I recommend kind of warming up the plastic a little bit, and then you should be able to slot it into the pegs a lot easier. And overall looks pretty cool actually. I would be tempted to use this pose if it wasn't for that newspaper. So let's check out the newspaper now actually. So as I mentioned at the start, the newspaper is a double-sided piece of paper with, you know, fine printing. Actually, it's got images and details, and with the one section of covering for the newspaper logo. Now it does come with hands which are designed to hold onto it, so we can move the arms up like so, and I think slot between his finger and thumb. So yeah, that is really cool. I don't know, I think getting like fun little bit accessories like this is awesome. Definitely makes, you know, playing with figures a lot more fun, or gives you more options for doing some toy photography at least. So before we jump into the final thoughts, I do have a bit of a size, or at least a comparison here with the previous releases. We have the original Loid here, which is the suit version. One thing I do want to point out is that the faceplates are the same, so you can interchange the faceplates as you please, which is great. And I did mention earlier how the design for the shoulder, legs, and is the same as the new one. So if you have the original Loid, I mean, for the most part, you should already have a good expectation of what the new one here is like. Yours still definitely my favorite. I love the assassin uniform, it is really cool. And then Anya is awesome as well. I love the expressions on the figure. I think that's one thing that's been really good with this line so far, is the range of expressions we get. And they're not the best for articulation. They're a bit poor in a lot of places. But you know, from a looks perspective, or from a enjoyment factor, especially with taking photos, I think they are really cool. Especially Anya, I really dig all those expressions that she comes with, and I'm really loving the ones with casual Loid. So really looking forward to the Anya Bond and the Casual Euro release. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about these figures so far. If you've got the original ones, are you getting the new ones? Or maybe you're waiting out for the casual ones opposed to the original. But yeah, let's switch over to the pros and cons now. Okay, so I've got Loid here sitting down reading the newspaper, and I think this is just what's awesome about this video. And the massive pro is that newspaper. Very simple, but for me it kind of makes this figure worthwhile. It's maybe weird to say that something so simple is a defining factor, but I love having a little bit of accessories, especially ones that kind of bring forth a little bit of emotion, something a little bit different from the character. The only point that is really disappointing with this figure is that there is no chair attachment, but at least living in Japan I can go to a 100 yen shop and pick up this chair for only 110 yen, super cheap, and it's really cool. So if you're in Japan, I highly recommend grabbing some, or if you're coming over for a holiday. I have done a couple of videos recently showcasing all the really cool accessories that the 100 yen shops are selling at the moment, so I recommend checking those out if you are interested. But yeah, the other pros for the Loid figure here, I really like the sculpting or the flow of the clothing, especially that jumper. I think it's really nice. The colouring for the hair, the fact that we can mix and match the face mates with the previous release, the extra head with the goggles, this one here, is awesome, especially the fact that you can use it with all the different faceplates. A lot of time when you get an alternative head, you can only use it with maybe 1 or 2 faceplates, or it will already come with a specifically attached faceplate for it. So the fact that you get a lot of variety with this figure is awesome. Jumping into the cons, I think it is, I understand the price point, especially for other figures at the moment. That is the price point for what figures are these days, and I think that is just the reality we have to accept, though I do feel like it's very expensive. But I did go and shop and I got it on discount. They a lot of figures on release in Japan, especially retail, they will be slightly discounted, which is good. So I don't pay retail. I probably wouldn't really want to pay full retail for these figures unless I absolutely had to. So that is the subtle con, a little bit expensive. And then the articulation isn't amazing. I've touched on that point a couple of times throughout this video. Even the original Loid, I think a lot of people were not that happy with his articulation either. It's very, very basic. It does hinder some of the stuff that you might want to do with it. But at least for these casual poses like this, I think it's fantastic. At least it can do that pose, so at least I'm happy about that. So the massive gaps you get from the knees, even from the shoulders, they are a con for this figure. But at the same time, it's not enough of a con for me to not want it. But yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below what you think about this release, the previous Spy Family ones, and as I mentioned earlier, which one were you mainly after, the business side or the casual side for Loid? Same with your coming up, are you getting her casual version as well? But yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Drop lots of comments below for your thoughts on the figures and what you'd like to see next from the Spy Family lineup. There is obviously, was it Damien and Becky coming? I haven't dived into season 2 yet. I will be starting that hopefully soon. But what was her name? Nightfall? The other spy and the Afro dude. I wouldn't mind those two figures. They could be quite fun to get, especially if they came with some tennis rackets. But yeah, anyway, let's wrap this up. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, cheers!